Hello, everyone. I think we've got, just to start off with, we've got a video. So what we're here to talk about, this is a new thing for Glug. We've thought that it might be quite interesting, rather than just having the creatives talk about their work, we thought it'd be interesting to have the creative and their client talk about a specific project. So as Ian said, it's Kevin from Kin Design and David from the Science Museum talking about a project they did together at the Science Museum, which is still on or just...
Yes, it's still running till May the 6th.
Fantastic, so go and see it. It's an amazing exhibition. So here's a little film just to give a preamble to what we're doing. Fab. So, you've seen it's a technological installation at the Science Museum. We're going to have, what we're going to do is basically talk a little bit in the form of Mr. and Mrs. I'm really old, so I remember it on the telly, but you might not remember it. But what I really want to explore is the relationship between the client and creative, and obviously the client in this case is a creative as well. So, roll with us a little bit here. So Kevin Palmer from Kin and David Dewhurst from the Science Museum. First off, how did you meet?
Across a crowded dance floor.
You need to turn it on.
Technology, I'll turn it on.
So we first worked with each other in 2015 on an exhibition called Cravings, and we put out an open tender for that, and they pitched for it, and we'd seen the work that they'd done for the Science and Industry Museum in Manchester and the Maritime Museum as well. So we liked their work, and we got them on board then, and we've continued to work with them on a few projects since then, and then for the Sun, we got them on board as well.
So one of the things that we were talking about earlier on was the fact that for museum institutions, those sorts of public bodies, I think a lot of creatives are a little bit fearful of applying or putting themselves forward to work with you guys. And it may be interesting for you guys to talk a little bit about the tender process and how it works with working with the Science Museum and similar institutions. So Kevin, do you want to tell us a little bit about the application process and how that works?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think a lot of people are put off a bit by the reams of forms that you have to fill out for tenders, and there is quite a lot to go through. Not just saying this because you're here, David, but actually the ones for the Science Museum are a lot simpler than ones that we've had to do for other museums in the past. But I think once you get into the rhythm of doing those tenders, you kind of know the sort of stuff that they're after, and I think as long as you tick all the right boxes, and because these forms are very objective, they're very done, obviously the museum has to sort of quantify who they're going to award the tender to. So you have to make sure that you're sort of doing everything right in terms of all the different sort of ticking all the right boxes. But I think, once you get into the rhythm of doing things, it's fine really. And, obviously, hopefully the work is the thing that they're looking for, the creative is the thing that you're really looking for at the end of the day. And if the creative is good, if the idea is good, then when you've got a good client, they'll obviously support you with that to push that through.
Yeah, sure, understood. So notwithstanding the tender process and filling out of forms and whatnot, when you first started working together, what was it you as an institution or you as a person for the Science Museum liked about Kin and their work?
I think the first project we were looking to work with them on was a combination of the sort of physical and digital, which is what this was as well with the sun. So, and they had great experience working with this combination and using LEDs in connection with digital interactive touchscreens. So, yeah.
Okay, so onto this project itself. Can you tell us a little bit about the brief as it was put out and as it was set up? I mean, obviously, we're interested here from a creative point of view. Tell us about how the brief was set. Yeah. Did you have to iterate that brief much between the two of you?
Yeah, so the exhibition is about the sun, and it covers a huge different area of topics from the how we take our sense of the time and time of the day and the year from the sun, and the sort of historical aspects of that, and then the health benefits, and then looking at observing the sun and the satellites that we're sending to observe the sun. So I worked with the content team and the curators at the museum to sort of see where digital could be used to help tell those stories. And we realized that one big area would be at the start of the exhibition to show how if you live in different parts of the world and at different times of year, the sun moves through the sky in a very different way. So I worked with the team to sort of find the messages that we wanted this thing to say, and with the exhibition designers who were designing a sort of physical space, and we came up with a sort of general idea of the sort of scale of this thing. And so then I put a brief together for based on that. So it was quite a detailed brief to start with, and then we put that out to a tender process to see who'd respond. Maybe.
So Kevin, from your point of view, obviously this is a night that's all about art and technology colliding, and you guys work a lot with technology. You've seen this brief. It's all about the sun, and it's all about science, and you guys are supposed to bring some art into that. Can you tell us about how you looked at that brief and really started to interpret it from a creative point of view?
Yeah, I mean, the brief was quite, I guess, a bit prescriptive to start with. It was, you had an idea, the Science Museum had an idea of what they wanted in terms of a wall, an interactive wall that would show the arc of the sun. And the budget was quite limited as well. So it was quite, so from that, and inside the brief was a description of having a line of LEDs, single LEDs that would be on a kind of mural background that would show the arc of the sun and animating that single line of LEDs. And we looked at the brief and we thought, well, can we push it a bit further? Can we do more with this? And can we do more within the budget as well? And we've got various partners from a technology point of view that we've used over the years that we know and that we trust. And we managed to work within the budget to create not just a single line of LEDs, but a whole LED wall. And what we did in this case was to use actually a really low resolution LED wall. It was LED that was used for an external advertising billboard in Blackpool before, in its other life, before it came to the Science Museum. And it was refurbished. It's actually LED that you would see somewhere like at Piccadilly Circus or something like that from a distance. It's incredibly bright when it's at full power, and it's incredibly hard to look at from being, as you can see there, from being only like a meter and a half away. But what we decided to do was to combine it by putting frosted acrylic in front of it, and it creates this diffuse, very ethereal, sort of feeling to it, and it takes the brightness down. It's actually only running at 25%, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And it allows you to stand in front of it. It allows the pixels to sort of disappear, and for you to just get this glow of light. And unfortunately, I don't think it's really coming across so well in the projection. But you really are sort of bathed in the light from the LED. It starts off as black, and you're in a very dark corner of the exhibition. And as the sun rises, so you are the cast of light of the reds, of the yellows, of the different colors that you see fall on you, and you're actually bathed in the light as if you were in a sunrise or sunset.
So how important for you guys as a creative company is it? We're a little bit off question brief here, but for that to be something which is artistic, beautiful, that sort of resonates with you as humans just as much as it is a technological explanation for the arc of the sun?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting combination between the science of what you're trying to communicate. You're talking on the touchscreen itself, it talks about the science of the angles of the sun, where you are in location in the world, the seasons as well, and how that changes the arc of the sun. So it's scientifically correct, but I think also there is definitely a sort of artistic. I wouldn't go as far to call ourselves artists. We're definitely designers, but there is an art sort of angle to it in the fact that there is this wash of color that appears and washes over you.
Yeah, and I think that was something that was in the brief from the start, that some of our early references were shadow puppetry and sort of time-lapse photography of the sun. So it was really interesting to see how Kin responded to that in a creative way.
That's great. Kevin, you talked about using second-hand tech.
Yeah.
This is, you had these LED screens knocking around in the yard, as far as I understand. I'm sure that you're going to tell us that they were repurposed and recycled. That's an important thing. But as a client, David, at the Science Museum, how do you feel when someone says, well, we've got this stuff knocking around in the yard, we can maybe do a little bit better?
Make me sound like Del Boy. All right, Dave, I've got some knocked off LED.
Well, I think the budgets are always kind of tight on museum projects. It's just the nature of the funding and the money we work with. So but it's really interesting to see when people come up with a creative solution. And we hadn't suggested LEDs anyway, so the fact that they could produce that within the budget was something we were really pleased with. And they were reconditioned units, so they still had life in them. So we were happy with that.
Okay, great. In these relationships between creatives and clients, sometimes there are problems. Sometimes things don't work out. In this situation, were there any problems in the relationship? Was there anything that didn't quite work, and how did you resolve that?
Challenges, not problems. Challenges.
Yeah. I think it's often a case that with as much planning as you put into a project, it's only until you have to actually start to build the thing that you come across potential issues. And I think when we came onto site, the build wasn't quite as we'd expected. So we had to do quite a bit of work to make the exhibit work with the build and the structure that we had. So it was just things like the structure holding the LEDs was slightly further away from the acrylic that we would have liked. So it was more diffuse picture. So we worked with Kin to sort of do things like increase the contrast and make those pictures clearer.
Yeah, there were other challenges with the acrylic of it being curved, which was quite unusual, and being able to connect. We couldn't get one piece of acrylic that would cover the whole of the curve of the LED. So we split it into three and created this kind of window pane feel, which I think works really well. It gives that feeling of like you're looking out through a window at the sunset.
Yeah, definitely. We were worried for quite a while about what that would look like, but actually in the end, I think it worked quite well.
Yeah.
So the project's been up at the Science Museum for some months now. What's been the response from the public? You know, this is sitting within a whole exhibition.
Yeah.
How does it sit? Are people spending any time with it? Are they looking at it? And, you know, how happy are you as clients and creatives about how the project's turned out?
Yeah, I think it's been received really well. It's at the start of the exhibition, and one of the things we wanted to do was to slow people down and just make them take their time and so they don't rush through the exhibition too quickly. And we've just been doing some evaluation of the exhibition, and we've got sort of early results in, and it's really promising that adults are spending about 1 to 2 minutes looking at it, which is kind of average or quite good. But families are spending over 5 minutes, which is really impressive for an exhibition, just one exhibit. And they're interested in exploring as many cities as possible, and families are queuing up to use it. So it's been well received.
Do you feel like it is a real collision of art and technology, or is this really just a technological feat that you guys have achieved?
I think what works really well is that both that if you want to, you can go up and interact with it and explore areas and times of the year and really get to grips with the science. But you could also, it works that you can just stand back and look at the landscapes and see those colours and just take in the images.
Okay, great. So I guess, ending on, as we started, are you going to see each other again? Are you going to work together again?
Yeah, well, absolutely. We already are.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah. No, definitely. We already are. We've got an upcoming exhibition called Driverless, Who's in Control, about autonomous vehicles. And Ken will be working with us on an exhibit for that.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. It should be really interesting. Yeah, as you say, it's all about autonomous vehicles, not only cars, but boats and planes as well. And we're looking at creating an interactive which is going to gauge public opinion on what is quite a hot topic at the moment, and a quite controversial topic. Should we have computers controlling our planes and our cars? Yeah, we're looking forward to working with the Science Museum again.
And that exhibition opens the 12th of June.
Plug. Get your tickets now.
Yeah, final plug then. How long can we go and see Kevin's work at the Science Museum?
So it's open till the 6th of May at the Science Museum in London, and then it goes on a worldwide tour, starting off with the Science and Industry Museum in Manchester.
Okay, thanks ever so much, Kevin and David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.